Hey, it's BigMark here yet again, and it's time to go beyond the line. So today America launched an attack on a Syrian airbase. So let's get past all the virtual signaling and just get down to the truth. So what do we know? We know, according to a statement from the Pentagon spokesman, Captain Jeff Davies, that at 4:40 a.m. on April 7th in Syria, a strike targeting the Shayrat airfield in Homs Governorate and were in response to the Syrian government's chemical weapons attack on April 4th in Khan Sheikhoun, which killed and injured hundreds of innocent Syrian people, including women and children. The strike was conducted using Tomahawk land attack missiles launched from the destroyers of USS Porter and USS Ross in the eastern Mediterranean Sea. A total of 59 TLAMs targeted aircraft, hardened aircraft shelters, petroleum and logistical storage, ammunition supply bunkers, air defense systems, and radars. As always, the US took extraordinary measures to avoid civilian casualties and to comply with the law of armed conflict. Every precaution was taken to execute this strike with minimal risk to personnel at the airfield. The strike was a proportional response to Assad's heinous act. Shayrat airfield was used to store chemical weapons in Syrian air forces. The US intelligence community assesses that aircraft from Shayrat conducted the chemical weapons attack on April 4th. The strike was intended to deter the regime from using chemical weapons again. Russian forces were notified in advance of the strike using the established deconfliction line. US military planners took precautions to minimize risk to Russian or Syrian personnel located at the airfield. We are assessing the results of the strike. Initial indications are that this strike has severely damaged or destroyed Syrian aircraft and support infrastructure and equipment at Shayrat airfield, reducing the Syrian government's ability to deliver chemical weapons. The use of chemical weapons against innocent people will not be tolerated. So that was the statement from Captain Jeff Davies on the US strike in Syria today. People have come out and said that this is very convenient that Donald Trump has let Putin know about the airstrike prior to this happening. But if you go have a look throughout Putin's statements, Putin said today that he's condemned the attacks. He's also come out to reinforce the Syrian Air Force. So it seems like this is a little contradictory that Putin and Trump would be working in cohorts when Putin has come out and has actively backed Assad because they've been allies for a long time and they've backed each other before, and now he's coming out and he's backing him again after this airstrike and condemning what Trump's done. And to think that Trump and Putin are still in somehow cahoots seems a little off right now. Now the other thing people have come out and said from this is that what Trump's done is wrong, which is obvious. It doesn't take a lunatic to realize that this attack on Syria was a very dumb move from Trump, considering that a lot of his base that voted him in were very against war, and that was one of the major reasons why they didn't vote for Hillary, because Hillary was advocating for war against Russia and especially locking down the airfield in Syria. And this seems to be something that Donald Trump has now gone out and done. Now, it looks double bad for him when in the past he criticized Obama for doing this exact same thing. He said that Obama should focus on what's happening within the US and should stop worrying about what's going on overseas. And in turn, he's gone and done the same thing. So it's a bit strange that he's gone and done this, especially after everything that he said to do. But now if you actually have a look at what happened, so now I'm not going to get into the conspiracy theories saying that this wasn't a chemical attack and so forth, because all the reports say that it was, and you need to make up your own mind on that, and I still need to do more research into whether or not it was. But according to the information we do have is that it was. And so going from the fact that there was a chemical weapons deployment and how that's unethical and it's a human rights violation. And so for Donald Trump to come out and not only actively disagree with the use of chemical weapons, but to I guess flex his muscle and show the seriousness of the implications of using that, it seems like this is less of a move of Donald Trump just being crazy and more of a political, I guess you could say, curl. This is Donald Trump saying that, hey, we're strong and what you've done is not okay. So to go forth through all of this, you see that a lot of people are going crazy about it right now. A lot of this isn't just a left wing issue right now. This is a right wing issue, and a lot of people are sort of getting in amongst it. And I think it's a very normal thing for people to disagree with what's happened today. But I can understand why it's been done. Like, this is an Air Force base that was supposedly used to deploy chemical weapons. I know that the Assad and Putin have come out and said that the chemical weapons came from them bombing a storage of ammunitions, and it's the adverse effect of that was that it hit a hospital. Now, that seems a little shaky to me, and there has been reporters that have gone through and checked this so-called evidence, and they've found that it's been empty warehouses and so forth. So I'm still very skeptical about whether or not that the truth of Putin and Assad is really there. But as for Donald Trump's reasoning behind it all, he says that according to the intelligence communities, it's been noted that that was the airfield that actually did the attack, and so as a retaliation and as a way to show America's merit and to show that chemical attacks are not acceptable, they've now struck it down and have decimated some of Syria's air force capabilities, and in turn have prompted Putin to come in defense of Assad because, like I said earlier, they're allies. Now, a lot of people are complaining that this is going to lead to World War III. Now, the potential of this is always high. It was high whenever there's a conflict between two major parties in a region and that they don't want to go to war, but if something happens, like other wars have started with, as simple as an accidental gunshot. So it's not too far-fetched to believe that this could lead to a major conflict, but I think it's something that only time will tell, and I think that we need to keep an eye on Syria right now because although it's always been a problem, and lots of people have their eye on Syria right now. Right now, you've got two major parties that are coming together in close conflict, and that's extremely scary when you've got they're two major nuclear powers. So you've got Russia, which have a lot of nuclear weapons. You have America, a lot of nuclear weapons, and so for those two parties, if they were to go into active war, I think you're going to see a little bit of an issue there. Now, if the war does escalate to the point where one country is backed into the corner and they have no other choice, I would not hesitate to say that they would, basically they would accept MAD, mutual assured destruction, and they would fire all the bombs. So let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's hope that this can come to a peaceful resolution. And the problem that we have right now is these two superpowers are backing two different sides. But the real issue behind this is if the World War III doesn't happen, then what happens in Syria now? Say if the United States win, and the United States de-seat Assad, and that's it. They remove Assad from the power, and now the rebels have the power. What's going to happen in Syria? Well, if we look at anywhere else in the Middle East, you can see that every time there is a major conflict with a regime and the head of that regime is removed and there leaves a power vacuum, it sort of opens up this big problem where ISIS forms, and or people like ISIS form. And you get these really extremist, crazy governments. Like, there's still major conflicts in lots of places that have power vacuums over who's going to be the rightful leader of the country. So in Syria, you've got it's a major Muslim country, and you've got a lot of different party views there, and a lot of strong Sharia support in Syria. So if you were to leave a power vacuum there, you have the potential of getting something that's much, much worse than ISIS. You have you have ISIS itself moving in there. So you've got to be really careful with these things. This is why international affairs isn't as simple as just going, they've done the bad thing, blow them up, or vice versa, or leave everyone alone. You can't exactly do that. You can't exactly leave a terrorist organization alone in the middle of a country oppressing people, because eventually they get a lot of followers, and then when they get a lot of followers, they come try oppress you, and that's what they don't want. But in the same token, you can't exactly just say, it's fine for someone to commit human rights violations, we'll just leave them be because that's their own country. You can't really do that, so you got to there's a little bit of finesse into intervening, and unfortunately I think America's current approach to intervention in other countries is uh, extremely forceful, to say the least, and it's not exactly the best option. So where do we go from here? After this, the best thing for us to do right now would be just to keep our eyes open. We gotta keep our finger on the pulse and make sure that we're sorting through the mindless bunch of dribble that's out there and actually look at the truth. Stop worrying about Nivea's white purity and stop worrying about Pepsi's terrible ad, and it's time that we actually double down and focus on the truth. It's there's a lot of wash out there and there's a lot of crap going about, so make sure you read the sources, go right in there, delve deep, and always go beyond the line of what's considered politically correct, and it's time to get in amongst it. Anyway, that's all I have for today, guys, and I'll hope to see you all in the next one.